I'm going to yarn over, pull through the loops on the hook. We're continuing now because I reached the maximum. I'm going to yarn over. I am going to look for those 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to go underneath them with the hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 of the 3 loops that were on the hook. Now I have 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Now you can start to get an idea of how this blanket will look. You can kind of see how these stitches are a little bit offset from row to row, but this is a lot more interesting. These colors, if you look at them, we're going to go in a little bit so you can see what that looks like. These colors are a lot more interesting to me visually than just one color all by itself. This looks interesting. This makes me want to look a little bit closer at it to see how those colors got in. You can do this with thinner yarns that you have that might make a lot of work, frankly. If I ever want to get this blanket finished in the summer, and I just want to make a light piece, it's not, it's not a quilt or something. So I've yarned over. Again, I'm looking for those 2 loops, going underneath them, yarning over, pulling the loop through. 3 loops on the hook, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over, 2 loops on the hook, yarning over, pull through the last 2 loops. I get another double crochet. You can see how those pops of color in the Summer Kiss kind of give it a little bit of interest too. It just breaks that up so it's even more interesting. Those color blips are consistent as a theme through the yarn. This, for instance, is the purple, and you can see they're all basically, they're a little bit different. This has more pink in it, but that base is kind of still in there. So this to me is more visually interesting. The yarn is more interesting. So again, double crochet. We are going to get that extraneous yarn out of there. So we have 1 loop on the hook. We're going to yarn over. We're going to look for at the top of what we did on the previous row, there's this that goes around. We're going to go underneath those 2 strands and we're going to pull that loop up. So now I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull through the first 2. Now I have 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over again. I'm going to pull through those last 2 loops. So I have 1 loop left on the hook. I have 1 double crochet. Again, 1 loop on the hook, yarn over towards you, look for that previous row, go in under those 2 strands, yarn over, pull through. So now I have 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull through those first 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over again and pull through the last 2 loops. So you can kind of see here how that looks. We've gone a long way to get there because I wanted to show you what my thinking is when I get yarn that I'm not really sure how it's going to work up. I've never worked with tape yarn before. Like I said, this yarn is pretty thin. They call it a 4. I would call it more like a 3. And I'm using, like I said, a size M hook. You don't have to use the hook size that is recommended on your project. But this is going to be a whole lot more visually interesting. You could have contrasted. I could have done a yellow and a purple together. I could have done opposite colors on the color wheel. That would have been really visually interesting, but I wanted more of like a tropical kind of beach boat kind of throw. Something pretty simple. Now I may not use a double crochet straight across. I may do a granny square. I am doing another granny square blanket that has a cotton yarn that's all one width. I'm using a size H hook on that, and it's a granny square. I'll show you that sometime. Probably I'll make a little video with that and show you. It's the All for One comfort blanket from Bernat. I've made a bunch of them, different kinds of yarn. I can use 2 skeins of the Karen Cakes or Bernat Pop, and it makes a cute little size for a lapgan for the nursing home. But again, this is really simple. And I know my demonstration skills are not the best. So I wanted you to see how you can play with color. And all of these skeins, again, were $1 at the Christmas tree shops. And I decided that I wanted to make summer something simple. So this is going to be the Keep It Simple Sexy blanket, because I don't say stupid. Because if you're doing this is very complicated for what you're thinking about. You're taking pieces of string and making a serviceable object out of them, or an art object. Maybe you only, make a swatch and then you say, I don't want to ever do this again. Well, frame your swatch and put it on your wall because you made something and it's worthy. I mean, your mom used to put your refrigerator pictures up on the, used to put your pictures up on the fridge. How about you get some clips with some magnets and put your swatches up on the fridge? They say you need an inspiration board. What better thing every time you go to get a glass of milk or, a bottle of water out of the fridge, you could see that swatch. You could think about, wonder if those 2 or 3 colors could go together. You could do 3 colors for this. You could do 4 colors. You can make whatever you want. It's your yarn. Nobody is going to say, oh, gee, I hate your project. And if they do, you can tell them where to get off. Off my enthusiasm. Off my, porch. Because you can make what you want. You don't have to use this stitch. You don't have to use this yarn. I talked to a lady the other day in our local Joann's store, and I was buying yarn for a project for a friend of mine whose child graduated from high school. And I said, I want this particular color of yarn because the kid's going to this certain college and I know what color it is, and I picked the right color. I pulled up the website in Joann's, picked it. And so I got talking with the cashier at my checkout, and I said, oh yeah, I'm in 2 days, I have a graduation party that I have to have this hat completed at. And she just kind of looked at me and I said, well, it's bulky yarn. I said, I've made the hat before, really simple pattern, thick yarn, thick needles. I can totally do it. I said, I'll probably be still knitting it during the graduation party. And sure enough, I was knitting it. I knit basically a 2x2 knitting, 2x2 ribbing almost all the way up. And then I did some decreases, and then I folded up the brim a couple of times. The yarn I used was their house brand, which is KC Knitting and Crochet. And it was 80% acrylic and 20% alpaca. And I wanted something that would knit up quickly, was washable, but would be warm if the brim was turned up a couple of times. That's exactly what I got. It's squishy because a college student is not going to wash wool, hand wash wool. He can throw this in the washer. I don't think he can throw it in the dryer, but even if he did, it probably wouldn't do too much to it because it's mostly acrylic. It says to lay flat, but you get the idea. So Anyways, I was talking with this cashier, and we talked about how she's using yarn from her grandmother and I believe her mom, she said, and she's working through that, what they call stash. And she's like, you know, I'm putting colors together that are really interesting, you know, trying to work up things. So I was thinking about that subconsciously when I started this. And this is a lot more interesting. I've said this a couple of times. This is a lot more interesting than just, oh, look, it is, you know, you can kind of see with the ends, if I do this, how they look together. Look at that. That's somewhat interesting. They're really close. They're really close in colors. But how much more interesting is it with two colors? So think about that when you're doing your next project and you're trying to figure out how to put, now obviously these are rainbow colors, so it's going to be really easy to put them together. It's almost like they're a shadow of each other. But if you have really strange colors that you need to put together, try and think about stitch combinations, yarn combinations that will work for you. You do not have to make everything one single color. You do not have to use the recommended hook size or needle size. I've seen some beautiful oversized knitted sweaters lately that are using 3 to 4 strands of, I believe, worsted or sport weight yarn. And they're with bell sleeves and they're really kind of cool looking. It's not my style, but it could be somebody else's. This yarn too is kind of nice in that it is a very thin 4 and it is working up, so this is relatively light, because if I have 3.5 ounces of this stuff and I have 12 skeins, that's a little bit weighty. It's a couple of pounds by the time you get done, but it could make a really cute blanket. It can make a really cute blanket. So again, this is what it looks like. Try and play with your yarn. And I am going to let you go because I have babbled on for a long, long time. Again, these prim hooks are really nice. They come in 2 sets. One's a larger set. I've reviewed these. One's a smaller set. The smaller set's marked with millimeters. The bigger set's marked with letters. I'm not really sure why, but you'll get the idea. I found those on Amazon, I believe. So that's it. If you have liked anything that you've seen in this video, and I know some of it is horrendous, my demonstration skills, again, are not the best. If you like anything you've seen in this video, why not subscribe? Try it out. And you too could have a summer kiss. Have a good week, guys. I hopefully will see you next week with some more content that is less jumbled. Being creative is never a clean, simple process. This is what it looks like for me. And it can be messy. So have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.